What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Devin's World, and today we are back with another EP review. This time it's Red by Brecken. Brecken is a Midwest emo rap artist hailing from South Carolina, specializing in his hypnotic flows and his melancholy vocals. At times, these features come to light in this EP, but this EP also feels very different for Brecken. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, but his vocals do sound a little bit different on this EP than what they normally do, in my opinion. Overall, I thought this EP was pretty strong in maintaining a consistent mix, while also being able to switch up the different beat choices and keeping a variety going. I also think it maintained a very consistent theme of an introspective look on Brecken himself and his constant struggles with anxiety. However, on this EP, he does this in a different way, where he uses his more auto-tune heavy vocals this time. At times, the auto-tune did feel a little heavy to the point where maybe I couldn't understand exactly what he was saying all the time, but he did leave the lyrics in the description of each song, so I was able to follow along. And reading along lyrically, the EP was very strong, and I thought it was very unique as well. Since this EP is only 3 songs long, we're just going to dive into each one individually, and I'll give you my opinions. Starting with the opener, Anxiety Ocean, this one felt the most like a typical Brecken track, maintaining a consistent theme of an overwhelming anxiety feeling from beginning to end, and it also felt the most vocally similar to Brecken's other songs. However, at the end of this track, Brecken kind of switches gears, and he talks a little bit more about how he knows that his problems are not the worst out of everybody in the entire world, and that, maybe we need to pick ourselves up by our bootstraps now and then and recognize that other people have it a lot harder than we do, and maybe what we're feeling is not the worst feeling that ever did exist. He does invite us to look inside of ourselves as well, and to think about that inside of ourselves. I think had he explored these themes a little bit more, like earlier in the song, these were kind of tacked on in the last few bars of the song, so I think if he had explored these a little bit more, like dedicating an entire track or having them come in sooner in this song, I think they would have felt a little bit more meaningful. However, it did feel slightly out of place because of its kind of tacked on nature at the end. Otherwise, the song was great. I did enjoy this song, so I don't want to take away too many points for that, but that would be my only critique of this song. Next is the track Sidewalk. Brecken comes in on this song with a little bit of a different tonality in his voice. I thought it was pretty interesting though, and I was a fan of it. The hardest part for me on this track was that, Brecken does have a tendency to get a little bit mumbly with his words on his songs, but typically it's not an issue. But on this song and this EP, to be specific, with the more auto-tune heavy feel, it did make it harder to understand what he was saying at times when he gets a little bit mumbly. But like I said, the lyrics are there, so I was able to read along and understand the themes. That being said, though, Brecken does slide pretty well over top of this beat. This beat has some pretty interesting drums, and I like that a lot, and he slid on this for sure. And he definitely explores some of these deeper feelings inside of himself, sort of like the first track. He just delves deeper into these themes on this track, and I thought it was pretty good. I appreciated how honest Brecken was with himself as well in this track. It felt like a very personal track to Brecken, so I really did like that. And I think this song was pretty solid. Just a few notes on that one as well. Finally, we have the title track of the EP, the song Red. Overall, one thing of note here is that I think this is the only song on the EP that actually has a semblance of a hook. I do think it's pretty interesting that Brecken was able to go pretty much 3 songs without a catchy hook and was able to keep me as a listener engaged the whole time. A lot of times on songs, you like to have a catchy hook because it's something that the listener can kind of sing along with, can kind of relate with, and it's the focal point of the track. While Brecken on this, he didn't really have that focal point, so he was maybe at a bit of a disadvantage, but he did a pretty good job without it. And even this hook on this song was only a couple bars and was pretty short and sweet. Brecken kind of goes into some details about a friend that he lost on this track and the memories they shared, as well as the fact that they always stuck by each other, which I thought was a very nice sentiment to add into this song. And this also awakens some deeper feelings of loneliness for Brecken, which were apparent here. And this was also explored throughout the EP, so it felt pretty consistent, but this song specifically delved more into the loneliness. And I think that of the 3 songs, I think this was probably Brecken's best vocal performance, and I think this was probably my favorite track. Brecken definitely achieved a clean narrative across these 3 songs. I felt like they were all very intertwined and well related to each other, which is why I think he decided to include these on an EP, especially because they were also all produced by the same producers as well. So I thought that was very well done. I think that they were all a little bit different from each other in sound, but all thematically similar. So I think that that's ultimately all you can ask for from an EP. I had a couple notes on some of the songs, which of course are going to dock a couple points off here. But overall, I mean, this is very strong, definitely very, very respectable, and something you should definitely check out if you haven't already. That being said, I'm going to give this EP a 7 out of 10, 7 flat. Great job, Brecken. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more from me on EP and album reviews, top 5 songs of the week, and soon to be coming artist profiles of underground artists in the scene here, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and we have a lot more videos coming. Also follow my TikTok. Also check out my playlist where I'm putting all the top 5 songs of the week on there. I'm pushing out content all over the place, so definitely go check out all of it. That being said, I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.